Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to HIMediaTV. I am your host, Evan from HIMediaTV. And today, I have a follow-up on the last video I made on this subject, the Capano, let me just, residential, where I was talking about Capano's more sordid, more, their bad behavior of their people, some of the sordid tales from the past, including this guy, and generally their bad reputation as a real estate management company. Now, I wasn't aware that the Capano family really did run akin to fucking gangsters and a gang. And for me, I had some people reach out to me about this, including one person who was kind enough to hop on a voice call. The following is that conversation. I am keeping person's name censored for the time being, just because I want to make sure that people feel safe and not getting, even though like the principal actors that were doing heinous shit all are old and geriatric or dead, and these events did happen 20 odd years ago, but they are nonetheless a lot. So I think it's worth bringing up by and large. So we'll see what ends up happening now, shall we? Let's get into the video.
I'll get to the point. My mom's side of the family, their last name is Sinowski.
Uh-huh.
They're very, very prominent. They've been in Delaware for the last 200 years, basically. They're also related to the DuPonts as well. One of the uncle's daughters from the DuPont married my uncle's son back in the day. So we have DuPont blood somewhere. However,
Yeah.
they owned property in Delaware off of Raybould Road, off near Newark, and they owned from one end of the street to the other end of the street, maybe a couple thousand acres. And as time went on, they started to slowly sell the property,
Right.
and that's how Mario Capano got into the picture. Mario Capano was most of my uncles on my mom's side of the family's friend. They went to my family's funerals, weddings, any kind of social engagement. I was there. I actually talked to Mario Capano himself. And right away, I thought he was a prick.
as our most rich douchebags, yeah.
However, my mom's side of the family had one weakness, and that was money. They loved it. They loved spending it. They loved receiving it, loved making it. And that fell right into Mr. Capano's family. So I got to see most of their family very well through the years. There was a land deal that was being made up to buy the remainder of our family's property in Raybould Road.
Right.
And it fell through because Mario Capano and his Capano Corporation came in and outbidded the person who was going to buy it. He wanted to buy it to put up apartment complexes and do the rest. But unfortunately, for some odd reason, and of course we know now, he got indicted and that deal fell through. But it was still the offer was still made and it was still valid. So the family was really upset and wanted to help Capano out, which they did. Most of my relatives have positions in, as the mayor's office, or the two of them are lawyers. So they were able to make a deal. So Mario was really entrusted with the family, and comes down to the next point. My one uncle, he had a drinking problem and he had a gambling problem. And unfortunately, he borrowed a little bit of money from Mr. Capano and his family and lost it all.
Hmm.
So Capano started to visit my uncle a whole lot more. And then basically he came out and said, "You look, you're a great friend. I really like you, but you need to pay us the money." And at that time, my aunt was still living. And I had asked my aunt, because she had just talked to, I think, the mother of the Capano family, and they discussed something. So I asked my aunt, "Well, what's going on? How much does Bobby owe?" And he, he borrowed $455,000 from Mr. Capano and never paid it back.
You know what? Like, I can kind of understand why Mr. Capano was like, "Hey, dude, you got to pay us back." Because normally, when you give money to a friend, you normally operate on the line of, "I'm never gonna see that shit again," which is how you should be. But
Well,
450,000. How do you gamble that much away?
horse racing.
That's I'll do it. Ponies are fun.
Yep.
Ponies are fun.
He drank it, horse racing, did drugs. He sold drugs, got caught, gave money up, stuff like that. He was a degenerate gambler.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, he was given an ultimatum by Mr. Capano, and the ultimatum was, and I found that out later on, that if he didn't pay the money, he would send a special professional to encourage him to pay back the money. And of course, my uncle, being that the man he was so distraught by it that he ended up committing suicide. It made the papers and everything.
Jesus
Well,
Christ.
um, getting back to the story, my I we went to the funeral. He was there, and my mom and my aunt, we uh, get into the car, and my aunt started crying. I said, jokingly, because I kind of didn't know the whole story. I jokingly said, "Well, he doesn't have to pay the debt now, does he?" And of course, my mom, she
He
almost
starts
smacked me. And I
wailing.
said, "Yeah, what did it say?" And the problem with that was that um, when you borrow money from the Capano family and you die in the process, the debt reverts to the next of kin.
Well,
And
that's not how debt works in the United States.
right. So his my uncle's son, he is a FBI agent. He's a field agent for Homeland Security, and at that time, he was still getting his licenses and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Capano and him discussed it and said, "Look, father owed me a lot of money. We want the money. I don't care how you get it back. Otherwise, the debt's going to go to your mother, and we're going to get it from her," and so on and so forth.
Which, congratulations, Mr. Capano. You just admitted a federal crime of extortion to a federal agent.
Yeah, well, my uncle's son, he either didn't look at the law that way, or he was a very he common sense kind of person. He didn't want, himself to die or his new fiance or him be dragged through the mud like this. So he said, "Look, I'll make a deal. Once I get to a field agent position, I'll float some government sees money your way, and we'll take care of that." Now, I don't know how much he siphoned off. Um, I had talked to him myself,
So now,
and
so now so now he's in some quid pro quo. Jesus Christ.
yeah, and he's high. He's very high up now. He's directing the Delaware Department of Homeland Security right now in Middletown, Delaware. He's really high up now. The Capano family has left my mom's side of the family completely alone. It's been that way since 2020, and I haven't been in contact with my mom, but I do have a relative that still keeps tabs with the family. And I had reached out to her and I said, "You never found out about Bobby's debt?" And, "Oh, that was paid for." Well, wait, that was over $455,000. The family doesn't have that. I mean, I know they
And
just
this is
sold.
in 2010's money.
Right. So um, I had asked him. I said, "Well, how'd you pay for it?" And she said, "Well, from what I was told, when they did sell the property in 2018, they all pretty much, almost all the family members, put down less than what the property was actually sold for, and that that was looked over, and nobody was the wiser. They took that money, siphoned that off, gave it to my uncle's son, and he coughed up the rest, and then paid Mr. Capano actually $512,400 because it was interest. Of course, all mafia people love to add interest to their property, their payments. But since 2020, it was all paid for. So it was like, oh, okay. So I said, "Well, who handed Mr. Capano the payment?" "Oh, well," and then of course this is from what my relative told me. "Oh, well, Bobby's son, he handed the money, actually wrote it out in a check form to the Capano Cor- Corporation LLC in Delaware." And the memo said, uh, payment for uh, payment for debt collector on it. I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I explained that." And then she told me, "Well, then don't tell anybody. But if you do tell somebody, go ahead and say it, because 4 or 5 years down the road, nobody's really going to, say, oh, disagree or re-agree." But when you brought that article out for Capano, I know the building he was doing, and he actually mentioned it to my uncle at the time. And my uncle was trying to get into real estate, and he had told my uncle at the time, "Whatever you do, do not invest in the buildings that we own, because they're a front, so that we can siphon as much money as we can and then wash the money through an outside source." And he told my uncle that.
Jesus.
That's why those things were crappy. It was pretty much a front.
And now Capano owns most of the fucking residential real estate in North Delaware.
Right. I mean, things have completely changed now since COVID happened, and um, you know political inquiries and stuff like that has happened and stuff. And most of the Campanos, the older Campanos, they're either dead or they're wheeling around in a wheelchair. Even Mario is not doing so good, from what my relative said in 2020. Bad living. They smoked, they drank, they did drugs. I mean, it just catches up to you eventually.
And basically, all the kids were like, "We're done with this shady shit. We're gonna go straight."
Now,
Well,
from what my
as straight as children of borderline mobsters can
right now,
go.
my relative had mentioned to me that they've been losing a lot of the power in Delaware, and that seems to be the case, because my uncle who had committed suicide, and another uncle I have on my mom's side, they owned a liquor store and a bar off of Broome Street. It was a 3-story house, and about 40, 50 years ago, it was mostly all Italians on Broome Street. Now, of course,
Right.
it's all black now.
Yeah.
And she had mentioned to me that um, they've been losing a lot of ground to a lot of the rival gangs that are in Delaware now, especially in the Newcastle and in the in the surrounding areas. It's mostly just they're pretty much a Spanish-oriented gang, and they've
Well,
just been
well,
kind of like pulling their stakes and just letting them do what they want to do.
well, that's kind of the thing, right? Like I'm not super intimately familiar with, Wilmington crime families and stuff like that, but from what I do know, broadly speaking, most of the old heads in Wilmington specifically, um, part of the reason why there's a lot of like youth violence and stuff in Wilmington is because, they're these street fraternities that these kids start don't actually own anything. All of the enterprise is owned by the elder generations, and they've kind of got things squared away. It's either a monopoly, duopoly, and districts are respected, and like people are just making their money, typical
Right.
ways. Like it's like there's a reason why there's not like huge gang wars and shit going on, like, and it's just like the petty little bullshit that teenagers are doing that are admittedly causing death, but it's not over like actual enterprise. It's over blocks that their mamas don't even own the house is on.
Right.
So it's like Capano, from what I like, and those people have been entrenched for 20 odd years. So,
Oh yeah.
so it's like this, so like, Capano has, like all of their shit maybe moved out like closer to like Newark and Middletown and shit. But like, even then, like Capano's kind of like, they haven't been able to really do it. They weren't really like the fucking boogeymen and stuff since the one dude, murdered his mistress. Like that was kind of like the last nail in the coffin for them kind of being nutty.
Yeah, there was not much information. I'm sure my mom's side of the family knows everything about it. In fact, I kind of like hinted. I think I hinted around, and I got a non-discreet answer. They were cleaning out their bar about maybe 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, and they said they were doing it to repurpose some of the items and get rid of them. And I'm thinking that maybe the tides were turning then, and they knew what was happening, and they pretty much wanted to clean or purge the whole bar, so this way they weren't going to be incriminating anything. Anyway, they brought back three pistols that they had in the bar, and they said, "Hey, you want to come over here?" Because I was staying with my mom at the time off of Raybold Road, and my uncle said, "Hey, you want to come over here?" And of course, Bobby was there too. And I said, "Oh, what were you doing?" "Oh, we're just testing out these guns before we toss them." I said, "Where are they coming from?" And he said, "Oh, they came from the bar." And I looked at two of them. They looked like they were like put through the ringer. They had no serial numbers. They've been completely scratched off. They were completely silver, and the aim was terrible. And I said, these are pretty much useless. And they said, yes, but these are close-up guns, meaning that you have to be real close to the person, and then you fire on the guy. And I said,
Just saying that casually, just
yeah.
casually.
So I said, well, were they ever used? And Bobby, of course, said, yeah, the one there that doesn't have a trigger guard, that was used by Capano." It's like, this was like 10, 15 years ago. So then I said, used? Like how? Well, he had a problem with a individual, and he took care of it. And of course, I said, what?
Just casually admitting,
Yeah.
to like knowing someone got murdered. Of course, great, awesome, love that.
Then I said, what do you mean, dead? And of course, my uncle said, no, I didn't say that. Now did I? They were just taken care of. And I said, okay, well, if you have a gun and you're pointing at somebody, chances are they're going to get
Like, yeah,
hurt.
you're like, Unc, we know exactly what's going on here. Like, what the fuck are
Yeah.
you talking about?
So he said, you want to try it out? We're going to toss them. And I said, yeah, why not? So I fired a few rounds off. It was it was cool because it was a firearm. Um,
Yeah, shooting guns is fun. Yeah.
but I mean, what I was aiming at was just a regular plastic cone, and I was only, I don't know, 8 feet away, and it didn't hit the cone at all. It just went over the place. And I was like talking to my uncle, I said, the aim is terrible. Oh yeah, the sights were filed off, and the barrel has a slight bend to it. And I said, well, what's that for? And he says, well, if you point the gun at somebody and the barrel's straight, you're going to get the splatter. But if you bend the barrel just a little bit and you go off to the side, you don't get any of the splatter. And I said, and you know this how? Oh, Capano told me. Oh, okay.
Yeah, Capano probably bent the fucking gun.
So,
oh, Lord of mercy.
Yeah, it's like, okay, well, I had fired my rounds. I had my fun. I said, okay, so what are you going to do with them? Well, I'm going to take them apart and bury them in the back. Nobody will know the wiser. Okay.
All right, great. I don't know if I just became privy to a like destruction of evidence. Love that. Thanks, Unc. I'm gonna go home and hug. I'm gonna go hug my animals and family and try and forget I ever heard this.
At that time, I said, I think my mom needs me. I think I'm gonna check on my mom real quick. And as I was starting to walk away, they got the hose out, and I said, well, okay, well, what's that for? Oh, we got to wash down the gun first before we dismantle it. And I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I didn't, but I'm just gonna get going here. And they're buried on the property somewhere. I do not know where. I'm assuming it's next to the river because the property butted up against a river, and on the other side, they had sold that years ago. So I'm assuming that either they buried it on the other side of the river or they buried them real deep because he had a tractor and he was going to bury him like, I don't know, 20, 30 feet in the ground.
Oh, so these guns had bodies, like lots of bodies. Then they're dry. Oh my God, Jesus Christ!
Yeah, because
okay,
I wanted to keep one, and my uncle said, "Oh, you don't want those guns." And I said, "Why is that?" Oh, they're old, they won't fire right, and you don't want to really re-register those guns. And this, oh, okay.
oh God, that's insane.
And they blended in so well. They were complete silver. They were black. They were complete silver. So, I know my uncle when one of my uncles, my uncle John passed away. They had a huge funeral thing, and then they had a reception hall. They got everybody together. And during the time that Capano was there, because Capano was trying to have a good time, trying to console people, my idiot uncle kept on calling him constantly. I mean, he would talk to him for about maybe 40 minutes. 5 minutes later, Capano would be, on the other end of the table, and my uncle would be way in the distance calling him, Mario, Mario, Mario. And of course, he's trying to keep a low profile because he had told the family, look, I want to keep a low profile. Don't point me out. Don't try to get to me. I don't want anybody to know I'm here. And of course, he's an idiot. Says it as he's running towards him. My other uncle stops him like right away and says, are you a stupid fucking idiot or what? He just told you to lay low with him. And of course, he apologized to Mario profusely. And of course, Mario, and I was right in front of him. And Mario said, okay, now shut the fuck up. And what do you want? What do you want? And my uncle would tell, I need more money. I need more money. It's like, oh, well, I just gave you 20, 30,000. What more do you, oh, I want 50,000. They were negotiating it right in front of me and my father. And my father just shook his head. And I said, oh, what's wrong, Dad? They're just discussing business. My father says, yeah, but your uncle is is saying it so loud. It's a good thing he's in the older section so that they don't understand what he's trying to ask them.
So that was that. I don't know if I'm gonna do too many more videos, if any videos on Capano going forward. I am more than happy to use I will say though, if you are somebody who has stories from the 70s, 80s, 90s with the engagements of this family, as well as any other sordid tales you have, please feel free to reach out. My Discord channel is down below. That is generally the best way to reach me. Also at HIMediaTV, that's where all my social medias are. Feel free to reach out on any of those, but the Discord is the way I'm most likely guaranteed going to see it. So definitely reach out. But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I'm going to send y'all to the outros. Fast forward 30 seconds to skip the ad. Thank you so much for supporting HIMediaTV. If you want to support us without actually giving any money and you want to do more than just watching the video, please consider signing up for Acorns. Our referral link can be found here on the bounty board in our Discord. Using Acorns, I think, is a very, very good option for people who don't necessarily want to think about investing. God knows I don't want to think about it, and it passively invests for you by taking $5 out of your account at a time. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to talk to me outside of this video, outside of live streams, or just join the community and be a part of it, you can do so at himedia.gg/discord. Discord links there. We'd love to have you. And given the financial situation of the economy right now, I know this is a tall ask, but if you have the scratch to spare, please consider donating and becoming a supporter at himedia.gg/tip. All of our perks are serviced through our Discord channel, including early access videos, exclusive videos, and more. Your generosity is a blessing, and $1 a month is a boon to my mental health. Thank you so very much for watching. I appreciate you, and have a great day.